Welcome to the Game Night High School Football Podcast, a weekly review of all the local high school football games set to be played this weekend. The Game Night Podcast is brought to you by Sun Orthopedics of Evangelical. Hit refresh and get back out on the field. Now, we turn it over to our hosts, sports editor Kurt Ritzman and lead sports writer Todd Hummel.
Hello and welcome to week 13 of our Game Night High School Football Podcast. I'm Kurt, this is Todd.
Hello. Well, down to 3 teams left.
3 teams.
Selinsgrove went out last week on what sounds like a pretty good game. Lost in overtime to Jersey Shore after, I think it was a 14-0 lead. Jersey Shore rallied. And then, I don't know what's going on in home games for Jersey Shore up there. That's the second time in like the last second time in a month they've fumbled away the ball like in the last 2 minutes of the game, and against Baldigo area actually scored a touchdown and won the game. The Seals were able to kick a field goal and tie it and send it to overtime, but turned the ball over and Jersey Shore won that game, and that leaves us with Mount Carmel and Southern Columbia on Friday night and Montoursville and Danville on Saturday night.
Talking about Jersey Shore, Selinsgrove, Jersey Shore starts state playoffs this weekend?
Yeah, Friday at Northern Lehigh against Pottstown, I believe. No, I made this
mistake.
Pottsgrove. I tweeted that out 3 different times on Friday night, I think, and each time I was wrong. So it's Pottsgrove, who is I think 11-1, and you know you got to give a lot of credit to Jersey Shore. That is a team that was 0-2 to start the season, but that schedule, I mean, between Mount Carmel and I think when I wrote the story, I think everybody but Central Mountain or Shikellamy was alive last week on Jersey Shore's schedule. Wow. So, yeah, so they really bounced back. They have the running game going. I think they ran for over 200 yards against Selinsgrove last week. So it's going to be interesting to see, how they match up. This District 1 game has traditionally been against District 11 to start, so and District 11 has dominated that game, so really haven't seen many teams from 4A and District 1 so far, so be interesting to kind of see how Jersey Shore matches up down in the Allentown area this week.
Okay. Talking about our Friday night game, it's a game we thought we'd see in our preseason podcast. It's a rematch we were looking forward to since week 2.
Yeah.
Mount Carmel at Southern Columbia for the District 4 title.
District 4 2A title, yeah. I actually got a chance to see Mount Carmel with the weird weather last week, so went out and watched North Penn Mansfield and Mount Carmel in the semifinal. First things first, North Penn's Mansfield's defense at times did a real good job against the Mount Carmel running game, but in the end, it's I think 366 yards. John Ayers and Shane Widener both topped 100 yards in that game, and Billy Anderson, the Mount Carmel offensive lineman, shared his huddle video on Twitter earlier this week, and I think it listed like 17 pancakes for him. And
I'm my goodness!
All right, because you see some weird high school stats, the 30 tackle games and stuff like that. He had 17 pancakes, and the poor kid that was across from him, I feel bad for him because the entire highlight is him just going backwards and getting pancaked on his back. So, anyway, yeah, and in that game, I think it was 14-7 at halftime, and the Red Tornadoes gave up an interception and a touchdown late where and North Penn Mansfield grabbed momentum, and I talked to running back Shane Widener, who led the team with He was over 170 yards on Saturday, about what the feeling was at halftime.
At halftime, we knew they were going to come in here hard. We had to just regather and then just come back out and just keep doing what we're doing and run down their throats.
Did it take a little time to adjust to the field on getting your footing? It looked like both you and John were a little better after that first drive of kind of knowing what you could do out here.
Yes, we knew the field was going to be bad as it actually is now. So after the first couple drives, we figured out what we could do and what we couldn't do, and we just changed what we couldn't do.
You guys went a lot to that. Started running to the left a lot there in the second half. What did you guys see something, or was it started working there early and just kept going back to it?
Honestly, I don't have an answer for that. I figured our line was just pushing harder on that left side than they were actually.
And then just you kind of know what's coming in the second half from you guys offensively. You kind of know you're going to try and grind that out and take control. What was that Could you feel that happen in there in those first 2 drives in the third quarter?
Yes, once we came out at halftime, we got the ball and we ran it right down. We scored. I knew it was over after that.
So after seeing the Red Tornadoes in their district semifinal, how do you feel about them in this big coal region rivalry game?
This is the 4th time in 2 years these two teams have played. Man, I don't know. I've seen. Have I seen 3? Yeah, I've seen 3. I've seen the last 3. Mount Carmel's line is real good. Both sides of the ball. Southern has this is the only team that's really stopped Southern's running game these last 2 years. It's just a matter of Southern has Julian Fleming and can do a little more, has a little more big playability in the passing game, and this is kind of all three games have really come down to there's been a stretch at the end of the first half where it's been close, and Southern's been able to kind of pull away near the end of the half and kind of make it kind of what they did against Danville a couple weeks ago, where it was it was 2 scores, and then all of a sudden they get going and it's 42-7, and I fear that's probably what's going to happen again. But if there's any team in this area that goes into that game with absolutely zero intimidation factor against the Tigers, it's Mount Carmel. So that's a big plus for them. But this Southern team is really too much for anybody right now. I really think Mount Carmel is probably the second best 2A team in the state. They're just unfortunate to hit a run here where Southern has if not the best, one of their that's an argument for another day with Henry Hynoski and Josh Marks and some of those guys, of which Southern Columbia group of class has been the best. But I guess right now you got to go with the Tigers, and this is probably gonna to pull away in the second half. And I'm picking the Tigers to win a state title, so I don't think I'm going out on a limb here to pick somebody else.
Sure. Southern's coming off a big win over Troy. Pretty much did whatever they wanted again.
I think Julian had 4 touchdowns, 2 by catch and 2 by pick six. So.
Yes, both between 30 and 35 yards on the pick sixes.
And also became District 4's all-time leading receiver in that game, past John Klingerman of Bloomsburg, who was actually, I think, 2nd or 3rd overall in the state. But it's going to be, I think he's 3rd now in the state, because Kevin Goulias of ACC was 1st, and I think he's 1st, and then the kid at Ligonier Valley, the Totino kid, set the touchdowns record earlier this season. So, which is maybe 2 weeks away. I was looking at the bracket. If Southern wins the next 2 weeks and Ligonier Valley remains undefeated, we're going to see Southern and Ligonier Valley for the second time in 3 years.
Now, Julian set the record for
yardage.
Okay.
Yardage. He's up over 3,500 yards in his career with, 10, maybe at least 20 games to play yet?
Yeah.
That's good. Just in case you didn't realize it, that's decent. He's okay.
So you're kind of expecting similar to the last 3 meetings. Mount Carmel sticks with them through the first half, and Southern's too much in the second half.
Yeah, and Mount Carmel's going to pull off the upset. They have to avoid the mistakes that that first game came down to a poor punt and a poor snap that set up a short field for Southern that made a 14-7. I think a game that was 7-7. I think Southern scored 2 touchdowns or something like that, and was up by 28 or 28-7 or 21-7 at the half, and then pulled away in the second half. If Mount Carmel, avoids the mistakes, I wouldn't be shocked if this is a game into the second half. But I just assuming at some point Southern probably pulls away.
And last year Mount Carmel, good first half in the regular season, even better job against Southern in the district final, but again, still Southern had too much in the end. So I'm expecting a closer game in week 13 than we had in week 2.
Yeah, and I think, in that game, Mount Carmel that was when Mount Carmel itself was kind of struggling to run the ball. Mm-hmm. And obviously they've figured that out. I think they're up over, I think Southern's run for 3,600 yards this year, and I think Mount Carmel's run for 32 or 33. So, yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of running in that game.
All right, let's take a look at some out-of-area. Well, one of the games is in our area, but not teams we care about quickly. Friday night, Danville will be hosting a 5A first-round state game between Wallenpaupack and Hollidaysburg.
That's a heck of a trip, because I think Wallenpaupak's right on the New York Pennsylvania border, like northeast of Scranton. And then Hollidaysburg's right outside of Altoona. So that's an even further trip than the old Del Valley State College game that was at Danville in the first round last year.
Any prediction on that game?
I don't know much about Hollidaysburg. Just from watching Channel 16, Wallenpaupack has a pretty strong running game. No prediction, but I mean, if you can't imagine anybody around here would pick that over Mount Carmel and Southern Columbia. But if you're looking for some other game to go to, and
I'll pick Wallenpaupack.
you just want to say Wallenpaupack.
I do. I like it. Sounds cool.
It's an Indian name. I bet you figured that out pretty quickly.
That would have been my guess.
And then, I think Muncie and Halifax in Class A could be a fun one. I saw Halifax against Newport, the TVL champions. That's down at West Perry at 7 o'clock on Friday night. And just an interesting note in that bracket, if Halifax would win and Tri-Valley would win their game, there'd be a TVL game in the quarterfinals between Halifax and Tri-Valley, which Halifax won. I think it was pretty close. It was like 12-7 or something like that. So, I'm just interested to see just how Halifax matches up with Muncie, because Muncie has been playing really well. Only allowed a touchdown last week in the district final on the road at Canton. Gonna go with. I'm making a prediction in this one. Right. I think Halifax wins this one. I really like. Brock Grosser is probably one of the top safeties in the entire state. Haven't been keeping as much up with it. At one point in the middle of the season, they thought he might even be leading the country in interceptions with, I think he had 11 through 7 games or something ridiculous like that. And then, so that's an interesting matchup down in Elliotsburg. But yeah, I think Halifax pulls that one out.
Okay. So if you're on the southern end of the valley and you want to go over there, West Perry's a nice place to watch a game. Just make sure you take the right entrance to the parking lot, or you'll be circling the high school for 15 minutes, which I've done going there to see field hockey games.
I was just going to say, that sounds like it's
yes,
this comes from experience.
It sure does.
Don't tell them about your trip to Hamburg then.
Nope. Went to the wrong Windsor Street. Okay. We're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, Sun Orthopedics at Evangelical, and then we're going to take a nice look at the District 4 Class 3A championship game.
Whether it's time to live it up on the field or in the backyard, there's always time to play. The sports medicine team at Sun Orthopedics of Evangelical understands how important movement is to you and your family's life. With 4 convenient locations, the experts at Sun Orthopedics explore every treatment option available, from simple braces to advanced surgical techniques. They support you through the entire healing process, making sure you're back to being a warrior every weekend. Sun Orthopedics of Evangelical. Hit refresh and get moving again.
Welcome back. Now we'll take a look at Saturday's District 4 Class 3A title game, Montoursville at Danville. This is a rematch of a Week 7 game that, at least from the final score, it looks like Danville won fairly easily.
And it was one of those games where Danville went on their third quarter run when it was close at halftime and then ripped off, I think it was 3 or 4 touchdowns in like a 3-minute span in the third quarter and pulled away.
They've done that a lot this year.
Yes, they have. They're like a basketball team in that sense. I got a chance to see Montoursville last week against Lewisburg. When you look at the Montoursville defense, it's kind of smallish, and you think Lewisburg should probably run over them. Lewisburg did not. They were, they're very quick up front. Cameron Wood had a strip sack when it was 21-17 in the fourth quarter to kind of clinch it for the Warriors, and was also impressed with their passing game. We talked before the game last week about Hunter Shearer leading District 4 in touchdown passes, and he's a real high completion percentage, and it's not hard to see why. They're not afraid to throw to the running backs. I think between Jacob Reeder and Logan Ott last week, and Cam Rank, the fullback, I think they had 7 receptions between the 3 of them.
Now, are they throwing like in the flats, or are the running backs running routes?
It's a lot of flats. Okay. They use Logan Ott and Jacob Reeder sometimes as slots as receivers as well. But then that really lulls teams into it, and it really allows Jackson Delina to get it open deep. Talking last week to after the game to Coach J.C. Kiefer about Hunter, he said that. He pointed over to the track and said he'd probably finished last in a 100-meter run. But the first touchdown pass or his only touchdown pass to Delina in the second half last week, he does a real good job of moving in the pocket and keeping his eyes downfield, and he was able to direct Delina with down the field with guys at his feet and hit him in the back of the end zone for a touchdown. And and I think Delina ended up with 8 catches for 91 yards or something like that. So, that's kind of a weapon that Danville's going to have to try and take away. And I think he had 2 touchdown catches in the first game against them. On the other side of that, though, Danville made some changes to their secondary in that week. And, since that Montoursville game, there's, the pass defense has played much better. I think they have nearly 19 interceptions this season.
Wow.
So, I think Danville wins this game just because they are so talented on the offensive side of the ball. If you look at our receiving leaders, Julian is up over 1,000 yards, but Peyton Persing, Shane Kozik, and Peyton Riley are all over 700 yards receiving this season. And, I think it kind of sounded like people, when I was, just looking at the game on Twitter while I was covering Montoursville, that KJ was struggling a little bit. But you look at the stats, and his game struggling right now is 10 of 17 with no picks. So, they're just playing real well offensively. And I think this is another chance for them to kind of, prove that this is, Danville's been to this district title game, the last 2 years, and it is, it has not gone well either time. And I really think the Ironmen feel like that this is their season. They have something to prove. They really want that 3A title. Now it's a matter of kind of getting the job done, which they haven't been able to do the previous 2 seasons. Seems like they really worked, once they got up 14-0 last week, they really went to the running game again, and that's probably something that's not where they wanted it to be at this, where they thought it would be. But that passing game has been so good this year that I think that's it. They just probably prefer to pass at this point. But Peyton Persing, Austin Millar, and Eric Cease also all had at least 10 carries.
Wow.
Or no, not Austin Millar, Peyton Persing, and Joey Harris all had at least 10 carries last week. So I think they're just, and that's where Montoursville is going to struggle, is running the ball. I think just barely over 100 yards, just enough to keep Lewisburg honest last week, and that's, look for that. If Montoursville is able to run the ball, that probably means that they're doing probably better than some people expected, because I think this kind of ends up the same way as the first game. I think it's close for a half, but I think Danville's offense is probably just too much.
Now, Danville's offense is something we've talked about all year, but last year in the district semifinals, 17 points against a good Shamokin team, but shut out the Indians on defense.
Yeah, and that's probably been the most underrated part, because with I guess you call it the controversy in the offseason. They had a new defensive coordinator. Bill Freeman left. Brian Raup took over, and I think they just struggled with the adjustment to a different coordinator for a few weeks. Because since that, second game of the year was 41-40, and then Warrior Run put up 14 points in the first half, that they've played so well defensively the back half of this season. Preston Fosnot is quietly one of the best linebackers in the area. I really think that, I think it would be a surprise if Montoursville was able to run the ball on them, because, I think Shamokin's run offense is probably what got them to the district semifinals, and, they really struggled. That first game, Colin Bowers really hurt them with the quarterback run, and they really seemed to shut that down. And then, if he can't run, you got to do something in the passing game. And 1 for 10 for 2 interceptions shows how good that secondary is playing right now.
Now, these last 2 district finals Danville lost, were they home or on the road?
I think one was on the road up at Montoursville, and then last year was at home to Loyalsock, I believe. Or maybe, no, that was on the road to Loyalsock. I'm sorry. Okay. I think they were both on the road. So I think that obviously that will help as well.
Sure.
And hopefully it's a little warmer this Saturday than it was last Saturday. But it is November in Pennsylvania. I realize I'm wishing for a lot.
And it might snow on Thursday.
Well, let's not talk.
Well, it might.
Well, it doesn't bother me. I'm off, so I will be huddled on my couch, making my 4-year-old shovel it all. No, I'm kidding.
So Danville pulls away in the second half?
Yeah, I think both these games kind of go the same way. The top seed, both these teams are good enough. Both the visitors are good enough to. Both these visitors are probably good enough to pull off the upsets, but I just think both Southern and Danville are so good that they're going to end up, cream rises to the top, for lack of a better cliche, I guess. And I think they're kind of able to pull away, barring any strange turnovers or weird things like that.
Okay. So those are our football games. There's no game night this week, but don't worry. We'll have plenty of preview coverage in Friday's regular sports section. Taking a quick break from football, we have 2 girls soccer teams in the state finals, so make sure you follow along with those. Southern Columbia plays Friday morning at 11 a.m. against Freedom Area, and Lewisburg plays Saturday at 11 a.m. against Benton? Bedford.
Two totally different places.
Well,
my friend. One,
I don't know what to tell you.
One's southeast and one is northeast.
So we'll have preview coverage for that over the next couple of days in the sports section also.
And good luck to both teams.
Sure. Then Friday, follow Todd on Twitter. He'll be at Mount Carmel, Southern Columbia, and he'll be there Saturday for Montoursville, Danville. So just follow him. He's a good follow.
I do have a tough life, don't I?
Even for stuff that's not high school football. So make sure you get the papers. Oh, you got to get Friday for the previews, Saturday for
Mount Carmel Southern,
Sunday for Montoursville, Danville, and Monday for the notebook items from the 2 games. So make sure you pick all them up. And we'll be back next week for week 14 with at least one game to preview.
Well, at least we'll have at least Southern Columbia or Mount Carmel.
Yes.
And hopefully 2 teams with Danville as well.
So yeah, tons of stuff to look forward to. We're running out of teams, but we got a lot of good content, and we'll stay with you till they're all gone, which won't be for 4 more weeks probably. All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
Whether it's time to live it up on the field or in the backyard, there's always time to play. The sports medicine team at Sun Orthopedics of Evangelical understands how important movement is to you and your family's life. With 4 convenient locations, the experts at Sun Orthopedics explore every treatment option available, from simple braces to advanced surgical techniques. They support you through the entire healing process, making sure you're back to being a warrior every weekend. Sun Orthopedics of Evangelical. Hit refresh and get moving again.